Alright, so here we have the other of the two things I bought this weekend on Craigslist. This is an Epson V300 photo scanner. As you can see, it's your typical flatbed scanner here, your normal like size bed and everything, pretty usual. However, this does have quite a unique feature that I am very excited about, and that comes in the form of these little film slide piece holder things. Shit. I'm excited about one thing in particular, which is the 35mm film adapters. These things here are quite handy. You see, they can either take in strip film, or I can scan in positive slides. And of course, the strip film is negative while the slides are positive. It can scan both of them, you just have to select which one at run. So if you look here and here, you'll see that there are two symbols. This one here resembles a positive slide, and this here resembles strip film with the little dotted leader on the sides here. Now, this is because on the bed, there are two holes along the bed here, and both of them have a symbol that correspond to these two symbols. Lining this up with its corresponding symbol on the bed, make sure that the slides are here in the center. Then, on the flip side, if we invert, then you end up with the strip film in the center. Now, of course, you may have noticed that there's this big white backing here, and that kind of gets in the way of scanning these, obviously. But lifting up on a little handle on this back white plane completely removes it, leaving the entire scanning mechanism here exposed conveniently right over your film. Okay, so first thing we need is some actual strip film to use. Of course, I've got quite a bit. However, we're going to use my favorite ones, these ones of the jukebox and the lava lamp. We're going to go ahead and insert these into this frame. And I'll show you how to do that right now. You just pull up on this tab. You kind of have to unhook these 6 tabs along the way as you pull up, but it's fairly simple too. This plastic is fairly durable, but it is bendable. Definitely creaks and groans a bit more than I want it to, but don't be too concerned. Now, up here you'll notice that there's a little bit of film showing you to put it in upside down. You want your letters to be backwards if each one of those slides was a little letter. So we're going to want to insert it like so. You kind of fit it underneath these 2 plastic clips here. Let it lay in the channel. Gently put this over top. Clip all 6 clips in. And now your film is held nice and straight. So all we got to do is open our flatbed, take a look at this and see, here's our little strip film indicator. We're going to put that down here, and there we go. We are prepped and ready to scan that in. Alright, so what you're going to want to do first is open Epson Scan. We already have the printer attached, installed, and the drivers installed for it, and we have it currently turned on, of course. So Epson Scan opens in professional mode for me, however you can have it in full auto, home, or office. Professional mode is the easiest to access all of these settings for film scanning. We're going to use color negative film. That's fine. We're at 48-bit color. We're at 4800 DPI, which, as I understand from my brief research on the V300, is more or less the limit. The higher DPIs don't make much of a difference, or they're just upscaling. And then, of course, we have all of these. We'll leave just the default unsharp mask checked for now, and maybe when we scan things in, we'll look into adding some of the removal and restoration tools. However, to start off with, we first need to preview. So let's go ahead and generate our 535mm cell previews. Okay, now that the scan's finished, we have all 5 of our cells here. As you can see, however, they are backwards. The lava lamp is supposed to be on the left. What ended up happening is when I would put the film in the right way, or the way that the Epson wants you to put it in, which is technically backwards, I noticed that it would actually grab this lava lamp and the jukebox from the next cell with a bar between them. It was essentially splitting my 35mm cells in half and adding them to the next one, which wasn't really what I was going for. So I figured inverting it seems to trick the computer into thinking that these are the correct cells. So we're going to go ahead and select all, and they give us this handy mirroring tool. So we can just go ahead and invert all of these, and they're in the correct orientation now. Let's say, though, that you wanted to rotate. Maybe you took a photo in the portrait orientation instead. You can use this rotation tool to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise each click. Now obviously all of our pictures here are in landscape, so we do not need to do anything really here. However, why don't we go ahead and open up some particularly good looking pictures. Not too shabby here. Take a look at another one. And you can see some watermarking and everything, but that's mostly just from my film processing not being particularly neat. Why don't we go ahead and we're going to want to focus on this one, I believe. I have a very good equivalent scan from the Nikon LS2000. So let's go ahead, and I suppose I can select all, and let's just apply all of these. So now, looking back at it, here's with color correction, without. With, without. Dust removal isn't particularly noticeable, same with grain reduction at this size of the thumbnail, but color correction definitely makes a noticeable improvement. And finally, all we gotta do is hit scan to scan in all 5 of these cells and save them to a multi-TIFF file. So here we have the options to save them as BMPs, a bitmap, JPEGs, TIFFs, PDFs, your print image matching JPEGs and TIFFs, and then just a standard TIFF file. I assume that when you don't use multi-TIFF, it probably splits it into multiple files. However, I like using multi-TIFF simply because it keeps the entire strip of film together in one single file. That way I can also just break it out using my batch program that I have on my computer to blow out multi-TIFF files to PNGs. I use IrfanView for that, which I'll show you a little bit later in the tutorial here. However, let's go ahead and just scan in our multi-TIFFs. We'll name this, I don't know, Epson Demo _ And we don't need the add page dialog after scanning. We want to show this dialog box before the next scan. So let's just go ahead and hit OK. Now let's go ahead and time how long this takes. It's currently 10:27 p.m. and I'm pulling up a stopwatch. So the nice thing about this Epson V300, while we're waiting for this scan to finish, I'll show you. When I picked mine up, I actually got a total of 4 of these, which, to be honest, makes film scanning significantly easier. I can have my wife off to the side, pulling the previous film out and putting a new one in, or handing me an empty one so I can fill the film while one is scanning. And it really just turns it into a big, rolling kind of production line almost, which just, you sort through this stuff. Well, okay, as much soaring as you can do when this stuff takes 10 minutes. Okay, let's take a look at that. Stopwatch says about 12 minutes and 20-something seconds, so almost 13 minutes for 5 35mm cells at 48-bit color depth and 4800 DPI. Okay, this is taking a minute. Come on, buddy. You got this. Come on. Oh, come on. Literally almost there. What What is it doing? Oh, you know what? It's probably transmitting all of this data. That is a lot of data to transmit. Oh god, right. Each one of these is like 150 megs, isn't it? Ooh, that's a really slow saving. Oh god, what have I done? Previously I was doing it at like 2400 DPI and 24-bit color. Or no, it was even smaller DPI. It was 1200 DPI. Oh dear. This laptop isn't the best, admittedly. It's a little bit crap. It's an old HP. Well, not even that old. It's just a bit underwhelming in some regards. Okay, so that's scanned in. Let's go ahead and go here. Let's go pictures. And let's see here. There should be one for Epson demo. Okay, so let's go ahead and start here. I have my 35mm folder here. I have all of my negative, I guess, quote-unquote, scans that I had taken, which were mostly just photographs of the negative using a phone camera over a bright white LED kind of diffuse screen, I suppose. However, if we go into scans here, unfortunately my little convert program, or my little convert batch file here, the little script I've written, isn't working super well with EarthInView at the moment. For some reason, it's not quite finding paths correctly. It's a bit odd. I can copy paste the literal command that gets spat out by whatever I'm doing here into a command line and it works fine. It's batch. I probably should be using something significantly more sophisticated than batch, but I'm lazy and I barely remember how to do batch, so that's good enough. Anyways, these are all of the raw multi-page TIFF files that I have. We want Epson demo here, which thankfully this computer can handle previewing. Very high resolution scans. It's looking real good. Why don't we go ahead and bring up our command prompt. I already have something pre-copy pasted. We'll go ahead and access EarthInView. We will scan in Epson demo 012.tiff, and we want to extract this to, instead of ftemp image, let's do f physical media 35mm scans and then png_dir, and we'll be saving it as a PNG. Essentially what this does is it calls iView64.exe, which is the main EarthInView application. It passes in this little file here and the path, the Epson demo TIFF, which is right here. Then we do /extract equals, and then in parentheses we do our path here where we want EarthInView to export our converted files, and we specify the format, which in my case I like using PNG quite a bit. So let's go ahead and let's execute that. Should hang up for a moment, and then EarthInView should open. When EarthInView opens, that means everything has worked. Let's go into PNG-dir, and you can see that it's already starting to convert. I can imagine this is going to be quite a slow process. Each one of these images in the multi-page TIFF file is about 117 megabytes or so. So I'm sure that it's processing a lot of data. However, it looks like we're just about done, and EarthInView should open. Excellent. So now we have 5 PNGs. Each one of these is one of our cells. Ooh, I like this one. Let's go ahead and zoom in a couple times. Oops. And now if we come over to the scroll bar here, we can kind of move around a bit. And if we look very closely, you can make out the writing on the buttons, and you can even make out the writing here on the sign. It looks like, oh my god, I think you can barely make out select any single as well. That is ridiculous. That is such a distance. That's insane. Especially, I love this grill here. Even in such low light, you know, it took such a nice picture. And to be honest with you, I'm no expert when it comes to manual exposures, and all of these were, I think, essentially my first attempt at a manual exposure ever. I've never actually really used film before these. These were some of the first shots I took, in color at least. Wow. That is very impressive. Oh, here, I can show you those twinkling lights. And you can even see that it's idling right now at 178, which is typically where it caps out. You can also see that I had to open this at some point, or it's been left open with this little bit of strip of light. But yeah, wow, I am incredibly amazed at this. I have to admit, I did not expect this to turn out as nice as it has. It looks excellent. It's very pretty. Oh man, just very, very pleased. Very dense image, however. Let me come all the way over here. Negatives, oh my god, 7,000 by 4,000 pixels, basically. Yikes. That's a big one. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this as informative as I have, just the experience of working with this film scanner. I have to admit, it's very intuitive to use. It was pretty easy to set up, and they can still be had for a decent price secondhand, even though it's coming up on about 12 years old or so. I believe these were released in about 2009 or so. It's still a very competent scanner. I mean, let's be honest, if that Nikon CoolScan can still produce pretty convincing images, you're probably going to be more or less fine with anything other than those cheap, crummy-looking, plasticky, like Kodak, quote-unquote, film scanners and things like that. Those, I'm sure, aren't going to give you a terribly good, resolution or color depth or color accuracy. But this V300, with no real effort on my part, seems to be doing a fairly good job. And for a hobbyist and amateur like myself, that's pretty much all I can ask for, and essentially is all I ask for. I just want it to work. I have to admit, I can't always have a perfect time with repairs like with this Nikon CoolScan here. Sometimes things go a bit wrong, and it's very, very, very frustrating. I'm sure you've all been there before. It's nice once in a while to have something that just works. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Bye!